Hello, it's good to be back with you. This is the 4th episode of my brand new show, 5th episode of my brand new show. And the reason I changed from 4th to 5th is because my cameraman, who I thought had palsy, is shaking his head no. 5th episode, and I'm having a blast. I hope you are. I hope you're enjoying it. All right, we've got a guest today, as we always do. My guests are special, they always are. And we're going to join him in just a couple of minutes. But first, I got something to say. I want to know, I'm from a different era. As you can tell, I'm quite elderly. And I'm from a different era. I'm from a different world. And I'm having a little trouble getting along in this world. Because as you know, I was a hairstylist for a lot of years. I worked all over the, I was going to say all over the world. I worked in quite a few countries with a lot of women. Models, ordinary housewives, nothing ordinary about a housewife, please. But in those days, we hugged each other, and I used to say how beautiful they were, and they came to me because they wanted to be a little prettier by way of their hairdo. But today, I understand, if you say to a girl, gee, you look pretty today, that's sexual harassment, is it? Can somebody out there be my guest and explain to me what it is to be a sexist? If I say to you, you look pretty today, or your perfume smells great, or something like that, is that being a sexist? I need to know. Help me get along in this world, will you? Give us a call, 508-866-1019. Tell me you want to be on the Ken Simmons Show, and tell them why. And I'll take it from there. I really mean this. I'm not kidding. This is not a joke. I really need to know what a sexist is. Or what a feminist is, for that matter. I have a pretty good idea what that is. Okay, number 2, and then we're going to meet our guest. I have a copy here of the Carver Reporter, a recent copy. And on the front page, I see that the former superintendent, Liz Sorrell, passed away. I didn't know that until I saw this morning. And I want to say I knew her slightly, and what I knew of her, she was a very compassionate lady, a very caring lady, a very young person-oriented lady. And I would just like to say, all of us, all of you out there, just take a moment to remember Liz Sorrell, the former superintendent of schools. Okay, we're going over here with my guest. So don't go away. Pay yourself your favorite beverage, take your shoes off, and I'll be right back. Hello, welcome back. I'm sorry that I had to go away for so long, but nature called. So here I'm back, no problem. I have again a copy of the Carver Reporter, and there's a little article in here about town officials. And we never get involved in controversy, but I was harassed by a citizen in the town of Carver who wanted to know what I was going to do about this. And he showed me this article. He's the guy that gave me this paper. And I said, what am I going to do about it? I don't do that kind of a show. I do something light and fluffy. But I was looking at it, and I said, here's what I'm going to do. You know what it's all about? It's a dual role, raises questions. It's about Mr. Malinowski, the town administrator, and John Della Pascoli, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Mr. Della Pascoli. And if you get the Carver Reporter and read it, I'm not going to go through all that with you because I have a guest here who's extremely impatient. But I would like to issue an invitation to Mr. Malinowski and to Jeff Dunham, the chairman of the Board of Selectmen, and Mr. Della Pascoli, to come in and give us their version of what I read here in the Carver Reporter and what you will read if you bother to go out and get it. Okay, that's it. I hope to hear from you again. The number here is 508-866-1019. I'm always looking for guests who have an interesting story to tell. Remember, it's a kids show, really. So don't come up with anything that you wouldn't want your kids to see. All right, having said all that, I got to introduce you to my guest now. He owns Carver Fine Wines and Spirits. His name is Jamie, and thus that's the name of his store, Jamie's Fine Wines and Spirits. Jamie, I don't think I ever knew your last name.
Pangione. Good to see you, Ken. Good.
Thank you very much for coming here.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. What we're doing is you're the first guest because Area 58, Community Access Media, is on a rampage or a quest to increase business in Carver, Plimpton, and Halifax by way of our little TV studio. So we are going to ask various business owners to come on TV like we asked you and explain and introduce you to the public. They know Jamie's Wines and Spirits, but they don't know who's behind it. They don't know who owns it. The cases, so many cases. I have the feeling that if you want to buy something, buy it locally. If you can't get it locally, and I doubt that, but if you can't, then you could go to the big guys like Lowe's and Walmart and all the big guys like that. But buy locally. These merchants will do anything to get your business. And you know the beautiful part of it is, if you've got a complaint, here's the owner right here. You don't have to go to Chicago or Arkansas or Alaska to complain to the owner. The owner's right here. How long have you been in the business?
14 years in Carver. We have another store, as you know, in Middleborough. That's been around for about 9 years. And I have a third store in Duxbury for about a year.
Third store?
Third
I
store in
think I
Duxbury.
did know about that, but
Yeah.
that's great. Are you getting to be one of the big guys, though?
No, I'm not a big guy yet, but we've been very blessed. The people of Carver started us all. We were a very tiny store in the old Shaw's Plaza. I don't know if you remember it.
Well, listen, let me interrupt you here. I moved into Carver about 16 years ago, and one of the first people that greeted me and welcomed me and my wife was you.
Yeah, that's a long time ago.
I bought a case of beer or something. You carried it out to my car.
Well, you needed that. I mean, you're not a very big guy and don't work out too much.
Okay, you want to start? Huh?
Yeah.
You want to start?
But they really did. They did a great job, and we moved from that small store. That plaza, unfortunately, Shaw's moved, and it actually hurt a lot of the local businesses in there. I don't know if you remember, there was a great toy store that was in there, that the Carlos, I believe it was, that ran it. Santander Bank was in there. It was Sovereign at the time. They went out of business. This is why I think this show is important, that if we don't support our local businesses, then we see them fail very, very quickly, because we really work off of a shoestring margin.
Yep.
It's not a lot of profit in what we're doing, but what we do is we try to provide better service. And I think you'll find in a lot of the stores around here, not just myself, but some of the restaurants, some of the hairstylists, so the Aubuchon Hardwares of the world, these guys are going above and beyond. And most people don't think that buying, the first motive is price. We are very competitive price-wise. Most people around here are very competitive price-wise. But there's other things, such as you mentioned, customer service.
Yeah.
So what people remember, like yourself, and when your wife was with us, God bless her soul. When you guys came in, we gave you that extra service.
That impressed the heck out of me.
And that's what people talk about.
Yeah.
Plus, like you said in your opening monologue, we are the last line of defense. So if there is a problem, a concern, or a question, then you can come right to me.
Yep.
All of my staff is trained.
Let me stop you here, though.
Yeah,
Before we talk about your business, I want to talk a little about you. Do you mind?
No, please go ahead.
Married?
Married, 26 years.
26 years. You don't look 26 years old.
26 years, yeah, same one.
Children?
2 children.
Boys?
Girl, the oldest, and her name is Sabrina, and my son, and my name is Mario.
How old is the girl?
She is 17, going to be 18.
Is that right?
Yep,
she go to college this year?
She actually just got accepted to Northeastern.
Isn't that something?
So that worked out extremely well. Hardworking kid, just unbelievable.
Yeah, well, I met your son. Good-looking guy.
Takes after his mother.
He's a very, very charming guy, too.
He really is. He's
very young. How old is he?
He's only 12.
My God,
he's 5'11". He gets the height from me, as you can tell. But he's just a big kid. I don't know where it comes from, but he loves to eat, and he loves to drink milk, and I can only attribute it to that. That we don't follow the sort of the regimen that is in today's society, like in your monologue. We're old school, so we believe in as much fat as humanly possible, real butter, real whole milk. Just eat whatever you can, and I think it's worked for him. He's just a monster.
Well, I've never met your wife.
No.
By the way, his wife is an author, and I've just asked him before we went on the air if he would have ask his wife if she would come on my show, because we've had one other author on. Has she published?
She has 3 books. 2 are out there right now, a third one in the works. And I got to be honest with you, I don't know how she does it, because she helps with the business. She really takes care of everything at home. I mean,
Does she do
everything.
the books?
She's an old school, sort of an Italian girl. We met in Italy.
Or is that, stop there.
Yeah.
Your education is in Italy, right?
Yeah.
You went to college in Italy.
Yeah, I went to the University of Rome. That was one of the places I went to.
University of Rome.
Yep,
That sounds so romantic.
Yeah, it was-
the University of Rome.
that's correct.
You get a bachelor's degree there?
Yep.
Have you ever got your master's?
I did not get a master's. What I did was, in my discipline, which is the wine and spirits industry, there's a different way of getting like a master's degree, like a master sommelier, or there's another one called the Wine Spirits Education Trust. So I went on and got further degrees through those programs. So I'm actually a sommelier. I'm a certified WSET master, and I actually completed the 4-year program at BU and completed that, so I'm a master through them as well.
Wow. So they have that at BU, so you went 4 years there too?
Yeah, BU is, out of all the places I went to, and I went to UC Davis as well for their online program, BU was without a doubt the best program that I ever went to.
You know,
phenomenal.
BU stands for Boston University.
Yes.
And I'm a graduate of Trump University. If that was called Frump, if his name was Frump, then it would be FU instead of BU. You understand what I'm saying?
I do.
But are you a master sommelier?
Well, so I'm not a master sommelier. I'm the next level below that.
Okay.
Because the master sommelier, it's more for service oriented, being in restaurants, and I never wanted to really be in the restaurant side of it.
To plain language, what does that mean, master sommelier? Sommelier, that means you're an expert in wines?
In pairing wines with food, that's really the main part of it. And that,
Very
to be
good.
honest
That's
with you,
good.
when I got my degree in enology,
In what?
enology, which basically is making wine, how to grow grapes, the process of making wine, what you do with it, tasting, things like that. That was like a degree program. So that was something that was, in my mind at the time, a step above being a sommelier, because a sommelier was more for being in the service industry for restaurants. So when I came back over here to the United States, everyone would say, I'd say I have a degree in wine, and I have multiple degrees. And they'd say, are you a sommelier? And I'd say, well, no, I'm not a sommelier. I have a degree in wine. Sommelier is more for service and pairing your food when you're at a restaurant. And so they kept on saying it, and I said, I got to get my sommelier degree, because people think that that's like, in this area, a next level, like a master's degree.
Got to stop you here because we're up against the time. That's
Yeah,
what
no,
television's
go
all
right
about.
Yep.
My favorite wine, as you know, is Petit Syrah. And I want to talk a little bit about that and other wines when we come back.
Sure.
So don't go away. We'll be right back. Okay, we're back. We're back with my guest, Jamie. Good to see you again,
You
Jamie.
as well.
Always good to see you.
Thank you.
You know, whenever I go in the store, if I feel a little down and he's there, I right away feel better. He's got that kind of a personality. You can't feel down around him. You've got a dog.
Oh, I do.
What's his
Lupo.
name?
Lupo.
And sometimes he takes the dog in the store. And that dog, of course I love animals. I just love animals, especially dogs. That dog is so precious.
He's a Rhodesian Ridgeback. He's about 135 pounds, and he's never broken a bottle. And he does. People will see him, and he almost wobbles as he goes through the aisles. And people will be like, how does he not knock everything off the shelves? He has an uncanny just knowledge about what's going on. And
he's a great dog.
He's just a wonderful dog.
Great dog.
We have people that actually come into the store,
To see him.
To see him, not to buy anything. They'll
Yeah.
bring a biscuit.
Do you mind that?
No, I love it. They have homemade biscuits. I have 2 ladies that actually bring him homemade biscuits. He knows when they come in, throw him the biscuits. He has fun with them. He goes out with them. He plays with some kids out in the back. It's just, he's Jamie's.
You know what? I have to insert a disclaimer in here. Now, as you know, we don't endorse or recommend any product or service. However, what we do recommend is that you give it a shot. If you've never been to Jamie's Fine Wines and Spirits, drop in there. Just go in, browse around. They don't mind. They don't mind one iota. They won't bother you. They might ask you if you need some help. And if you do, if you're having a roast beef dinner, go up to one of them and ask them what wine they should have, especially if this guy is there. Now, that brings me up Petite Sirah. I buy Petite Sirah, and it's tough to get, by the way.
It is.
You can't get it everywhere. You have it. I use that for lamb and veal, and is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a gamey wine. Gamey means more like feels like the earth, like lamb does, things like that. When we pair food with wine, that's what makes wine better. That's what makes food better. Bringing them together is very important in the meal. So Petite Sirah goes great with lamb, goes great with roast beefs, goes great with duck, if you've ever had it with duck.
No.
Absolutely fantastic, because
Really?
it really pulls out what is inside there. If you just drink a lot of wines on their own, you don't necessarily get all the flavors that are necessary, that are in there, that are just hiding. And food brings it out.
That's a good explanation. That's a very good explanation. What's your favorite wine?
My favorite wine is Italian wines, and I love Barolos and Brunellos. And those are also 2 wines that you really can't drink them on their own. They're, I think, 2 of the best wines in the entire world, right up there with sort of like California Cabs and Bordeaux's. And these are wines that you can have with meat dishes, wild boar, not to mention some restaurants, but there's some beautiful restaurants locally around here that are doing wild boar now as a dish.
Really?
And it's only in the last year that I've seen it. And if you have a chance to try some of the local restaurants, Mamma Mia's, I believe, has one. Lena's in Plymouth has a wild boar dish. Absolutely fantastic. Get a Brunello or a Barolo. Both of them will pair extremely well with it. And you'll be very pleasantly surprised.
Did I tell you my guests are so full of information? You thought I was going to say something else. I didn't know that anybody served wild boar.
Yeah.
Again, Mamma Mia's and Lena's?
Lena's, yeah.
In Plymouth.
In Plymouth, yeah.
Bear that in mind the next time you're going out for dinner. You want something special. That's going to be pretty special. I can't wait myself. Alcohol, the way I smoke cigars. I love a good cigar. I love a good cup of coffee. I love a little cognac after a nice meal, or a little wine after
Perfect
a
with a
nice meal.
cigar.
A little port, a good port, a good port. Is there anything wrong with that?
There's nothing wrong with it. I think in life you can try anything as long as you don't overindulge
Or hurt anybody?
or hurt people. And in my business, that's one of the difficulties, is that there is a tendency to overindulge.
I was going to ask you the question. Now, you sell booze. By the way, do you know where the name booze comes from?
I do not.
You don't know it?
No.
Let me give you some information. In colonial days in Philadelphia, there was a guy by the name, believe it or not, his name was John Booze. And he opened a store where he sold beer that he brewed himself. And so people used to say, let's get down to the store and get some booze. That's where the name booze came
Fantastic.
from. Interesting?
Yeah, very good.
I didn't think it was that good. Anyway, you sell alcohol, and there are alcoholics out there. Do you feel any guilt?
I do. Yeah, it's a fine line, and I had mentioned to a couple people earlier today when they were asking me about going on camera. I have a good friend of mine that is part of the opiate task force in Massachusetts, and I carry his cards and a couple of his other underlings' cards as well for when people come into the store that have some issues. And I try to hand those cards out. I have probably over the years 25 to 35 people said, I don't want you coming here anymore.
Really?
I mean, not that you're having a bad day, meaning I can't serve to you anymore because I see it's a problem, it's affecting your life, it's affecting your family, you need to get some help.
Can you do that legally?
I can say some things as a person, I'm part of society, and this is a societal problem. And this is something that we have to deal with. So if I don't say it, and I'm the first line of defense, who's gonna?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I feel like I have a moral obligation that if there's an issue, that I should at least mention, hey, if you need some help, there's people out there that can help you. Let me give you the first step. Let me help you out. And I think that's important, like what you're doing here today. We're here to help everybody.
Yeah.
That's the job. If we were just
Yeah.
a little bit more kind,
Yeah.
if we were just a little bit more understanding of what's going on around us, our surroundings, it might be a little bit better place.
What a great thing to say. And I know you mean it. I know you mean it. I come from a family that my father was an alcoholic. My wife was an alcoholic. My grandfather was an alcoholic. My brother died from alcohol at the age of 59.
Ooh.
So when I take a drink, every time I take a drink, I think of them and wonder why I'm not an alcoholic. I have one Manhattan every day and a glass of wine every day.
That's the reason, because of what your background is. My family's the same way. My father's a recovering alcoholic. My brothers, uncles, my grandfather.
Really?
All of them.
I
And
met your dad. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's been 31 years now.
Dry.
Try. But this is why I say to me it's an obligation, because I see it. I see it firsthand, my own family. People would say to me, "Why are you getting into this business? I mean, isn't it going to become a problem? Addiction is in your family. It's in your blood. It's in your genetics." I said, we all have issues. We can't use that as a crutch. We have to overcome. We have to look at that adversity, face it, head on, and say, "I have to deal with this issue." I think, unfortunately, today's society, there's no culpability. So when you ask me, should I say these things to people, I always say, if not me, then who? Because the same thing that I'm saying, nobody wants to take responsibility. Nobody wants to say no. And it's important to have somebody in their lives that says no.
And you're the guy.
I might be.
Yeah. Let's get down to the nuts and bolts now. You got 3 stores.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see you here as often as I'd like, because I'm sure you're attending to the stores that need you. How are the stores doing? How's the business?
Fantastic. Last year was our best year that we've ever had.
All over, all stores?
Yep. The 2 in Carver, which were operational for the full fiscal year. Excuse me, the 1 in Carver and 1 in
Did you say
Middleborough.
2 in Carver?
I meant the 2 Carver and Middleborough.
Oh, okay.
They had record years. Duxbury wasn't open for the full year. It was only open for
Okay.
like 4 months, actually operational. But that is absolutely doing fantastically well. But Carver and Middleborough, best years we've ever had. We actually expanded the selection, which is hard to do because we didn't expand the space. We just changed the racks around, and we added probably about 23% more product now in both stores, in Carver and Middleborough. And but they're doing well. But that again is because we provide great service, great prices, great selection, and the people, everybody who comes to us loves us.
And not only that, but the store I've been in, I haven't been to the other stores. The guys that work there, or the girls that work there,
Yep.
how should I say, they welcome you like they've been waiting for you for a long time. Where have you been?
They're like family. All the guys, the same guys that I started with, like you said, 14, 15
Yeah.
years ago. Gary's the same guy. Pete's the same guy. Everybody that's there, Gary D's the same guy. Everybody that is there from the beginning, pretty much the same people. We've added because we've grown, but it's the same manager in Middleborough for the last 5 years. It's the same manager in Carver.
that's great.
And the person that was in Carver that was managing she's managing my Duxbury store.
Okay, are you glad you went in the business? If you had to do over again, would you pick this business to be
I
in?
would. I love the business. I love it because I do get to see people, and as you know, I do like to talk to people.
Yes.
I do like to have conversations with
That's the
people.
one nice thing. When I decided to have you for a guest, I said, with him, all I got to do is ask one question and then leave the room.
Well, I don't know about that, but I do enjoy people, and that's important. So in retail, you have to like people.
Oh, yeah.
And I've seen retailers that they don't like people.
I've seen that
And they
too.
want to make money. And I say, well, you can't have it both ways.
No, you can't.
But that is probably why I was in the business. And of course, I am doing a passion of mine because I love wine. I love beer. I love spirits. So you just can't let it get ahead of you. So
We got about 1 minute left. If there's anything you'd like to say to the people before we sign off?
thank you. Thank you for being
How
for supporting
eloquent
us.
can you be? Thank you. That's great. That's great.
And thank you.
My pleasure. Anytime.
Thanks.
Anytime. He's the first merchant that we've interviewed, and we're going to, from time to time, bring in other merchants. Carver Jeweler is going to come on the show, Ron Delano, in the future. My cameraman, the great Ricky, has promised me to have a sex therapist on, but he's been promising that since the year 2002. But I'm still waiting, and I know he's good. I know he's good for it. So there's that to look forward to. And maybe we'll get into a little controversy too from time to time. But in any event, I love you. You know that. I'm always glad to be with you. This is when I'm the happiest. I have a lot of downtime, still grieving. Won't get into that, but just know that that's there. But I know you're out there, and I know that you love me as I love you. And as Brett Skelton used to say, goodbye and God bless.